This is our third part of our 9.1 lesson where we're showing a video here with the coordinate plane, but this has extended our thinking of coordinate plane to also include reflections. So if you read with me here, points R and S are reflections of each other about the y-axis. This is important. We're reflecting about the y-axis. Use the coordinate plane below. Give the coordinates of point S if the coordinates of point R are the following. Well, it says point R are going to be, point R is following. These different numbers or coordinate pairs here that are given really represent point R. But if you take a look, there are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 examples for point R. So I encourage students today to do something along this line. If we label it, the first point could be R sub 1, or we would just write R with a little tiny subscript 1 behind it, meaning that that's going to be our first example of a reflection. Next we can move on to number 4, and we're just trying to help organize this before we get too far into the problem. This is going to be called R again, but we would write R sub 2, or R with a little subscript 2 next to it. We want to continue with that idea for number 5, but this will be our third example, or our third reflection in this problem, so we'll call it R sub 3. And for number 6, it can still be called point R, but we don't want to be confused, so I'm going to call that R sub 4, with that little subscript 4 behind it. It just might help us keep things orderly. Now notice, they give me R, what am I supposed to give them? Point S is really the question. That's what I'm trying to find. So after each of these, I might also organize, I know S sub 1 will be its reflection. I know S sub 2 will be the reflection for number 4. I know the third point that's reflected will be S sub 3. And I know the fourth point that I need to reflect could be written as S sub 4. So I've really just kind of organized this so that I'm helping myself out in the long run. Well, let's see if we can dig in a little bit deeper. I'm going to change here to a highlighter real quickly because I noticed something. This piece of information is critical about the y-axis, and I don't want to scribble over that too much. This highlighter is pretty dark right now. So we want to find the y-axis. Well, if you remember, the x-axis goes horizontally. The y-axis is actually this vertical axis here. So kind of highlighting here for you. This is actually my mirror. So I'm going to label this for us right now. It's acting as our mirror, the y-axis. So I'm going to be looking through this mirror in a minute to find my reflections. So let's see if we can plot our first point. So R sub 1, or the first R point that we're given, is 3, 9. Well, if you remember, we start here at the origin. Nothing has changed about that. And we get to move positive 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. Next I need to move positive 9. So moving up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We'll put a point here. But with all good points, we should have some labels. We'll call this R1, okay, or R sub 1. Well, I need to find his reflection. Remember, they want me to reflect or look through the mirror that I've highlighted here. This is what I'm looking through. So on the other side, I would expect to see the reflection. Well, notice, how far away is this point R from my mirror? Looks like it's 3 jumps. And if you notice anything when you look in the mirror, if you get extremely close to your mirror, your reflection's extremely close. If you take 3 steps away, your reflection is 3 steps away. So I want students to think about this distance from the axis or from the mirror. So on the opposite side, I really need to jump backwards 1, 2, 3 steps or jumps. And I'm going to put a point here and I'm going to label it S sub 1. So now the question is, where is that located? What could I give it for coordinates? Well, if I go back down to my original problem and I start here at the origin, instead of moving to the right, 1, 2, 3, it looks like I needed to move to the left, 1, 2, 3, or negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Oh, so the first thing I need to record is negative 3. We're moving backwards instead. Well, once I got here, it looks like I still had to move up, and I still had to move up the same distance. I wanted my reflection to be right across from me. So I moved up the same number of units, or if you count them out, looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 units. Good, let's try another. So I'm going to take the second point that we're given, R sub 2, or the second example of R, which is at negative 7, 4. So we'll start at our origin, and we're going to move negative 7 this time. Well, negative numbers mean move back. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, there we are. The second number that I'm given in the coordinate pair is positive. It's a +4. So it means I need to move up on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here we are. This again is r. It's a point I'm given, but it's the second r that I'm dealing with. So I'm just going to write a little subscript 2 next to it. Well, if you notice, I really want to find his reflection. It says here that I'm supposed to be reflecting across the y-axis. So I know his reflection has to be somewhere on the other side here. Well, if this is my mirror, let's think about how far away that r is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 jumps, or a distance of 7 intervals. Wouldn't his reflection be the same distance on the other side? Absolutely. So we start here at the y-axis, or at our mirror, and we move the same distance, but going in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's our new point. And again, this is the reflection of r. We're calling it s. And because it was our second set of numbers, this was r sub 2. This will be our second s, or s sub 2. This also needs some coordinates, doesn't it? We need to identify where he's located here. So we're going to come up with a coordinate pair. If we start again at our origin and we want to move to s sub 2, we start moving to the right. +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 to the right. I'll record that. And once I got to this point, I needed to move up. So up towards those positive numbers on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. A +4 comes next. We really want to continue this for the next couple points where we're given the r and we have to find its reflection of s. And I want you to start noticing something. I hope that my students start to make these observations while they're working on these things. If you look, something kind of looks the same here. Well, in number 3, both of these coordinate pairs have a 9 in the second position, or for the y. So the thing that was different was really the first digit. That's interesting. And how was it different? Well, the first one was a positive, the second one was a negative. Interesting. Let's look at number 4. Do you see anything that looks the same? Anything that repeats? Oh, they both have a 4 in the second position, or for their y term. Well, look at the beginning numbers. The first coordinate is either a -7 or a +7. What do you start to notice? If you continue the next two, the pattern might become even more obvious, but I hope that students are starting to notice an observation or a rule. So it looks to me like the last term, or the y number or value, stays the same. Y term stays the same. But what happens with the x? The x term becomes, well, for one of these, it started out positive and became negative, and the other one started negative and became positive. Aren't those called opposites? So the x term becomes an opposite. You really have just developed your own rule, your own understanding of these reflections when we're moving about or across the y-axis. We're going to try another one here in just a minute, but again, you have just practiced reflecting across the y-axis. Notice your mirror here was the y-axis. In a minute, we're going to change to the x-axis. So hopefully you're sticking with me for problems numbers 3 through 6 here. Finish those last two. Number 5 and number 6 need a little bit of the touch-up, and make sure that they still follow your same rule. I hope your observation is still true.